Hi, welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are here for the first time, my name is Trina, and this is my channel, and Trina B. Irie, that is my channel. And welcome back. Subscribe, share this video, hit that notification bell so whenever I upload new content, you guys will be notified that I do that. So, before I get into it, I'm gonna be a little bit vain. Do y'all like my hair? You like my hair? Do you like my hair? If you saw my last video, I had my hair were like in little rods, and so I took them down. I didn't know what to expect, but I am loving these results. Yes. It was my little vain moment there. I had to get it in. Okay, I had to get it in. So this week, this is a weekly installment of how to do this thing called life. And so every week I kind of think about different topics or just something that jumped out at me during the week. And I just bring it to you and we kind of discuss it. All right. So on today's topic, it is I'm titling it the cure for hopelessness, and I think what that is meaning, finding meaning to life, finding meaning in whatever you're doing. And I kind of was thinking about this. I went to church today, and there was this minister, Gerald Davis, and he's blind. And during the service, he was talking about he was born with really like difficulty seeing, but over time and as he got older, because he actually has what's our degenerative disease, that as he got older he was getting blinder and blinder and blinder. So he kind of touched on that process a little bit. And then now he is totally blind and he has to use a walker to get around. And so one of the things he said during service was that society equates blindness with helplessness. So he talked about knowing individuals who, being blind, they never leave their house. He was talking about, there was a lady that he knew, and her family had a rope that they tied, I guess, from her front porch to the mailbox, and so she follows along the rope and goes to the mailbox, gets her mail, and goes back in the house. But blindness has being blind has become such a deterrent, or such a obstacle. Maybe it's not deterrent, is a good word. Such an obstacle that it has now limited what they can do, what other people expect that they can accomplish. But he was saying that he has found that for himself, being blind did not prevent him from still being his best self. And I thought that was accomplishing things. He is not seeing his blindness as a limitation. It has caused him to find creative ways of how to get things accomplished. And he talked about how technology has been a really big help. But in his sermon, he had his iPhone. He says, "Siri, set time for 15 minutes." And so he was talking about how technology actually helped in helping him and coming up with creative ways of doing things that someone would say that he can't do. Someone after the service ended, they opened it up for questions, and someone in the audience mentioned that that entire speech or sermon that he gave, he memorized it. And I'm thinking, like, I got both eyes, I can see, and I can't memorize no speech. And so I was like, yo. And it's not just, it's something that he does all the time. And he's a minister, you know what I'm saying? Like, he says he's been a minister since 1970. You know what I'm saying? Like, that was way before my time. And so almost 43 years he's been a minister for. And imagine being a minister, and he was saying that even when he was small, he had to hold things like right in front of his face just to read it. So and he's been through college. He was like a district director for Oklahoma Department of Human Services. So here is this man who has a visual impairment, and he has gone to, this is a state organization that deals with welfare, child welfare, social services, all this stuff. And he was a district director. So his visual impairment didn't limit him. And over time, it got worse and worse and worse. And you would think it's getting worse and he would have, that stopped his career. Nope, he kept going up that career ladder and found ways in order to get stuff done, get his job done. You know what I mean? Like, he was talking about, he had to learn pretty quickly that nobody's gonna feel sorry for you. It's like, no one is gonna, oh, he's like, nope, you either can perform or you can't. And so he learned how to be creative and find creative solutions to something that you say the average person can do, or someone that's not visually impaired, they can do, and he can't. So he talked about like Braille. I didn't know, like, I thought Braille was a language. He's like, no, it's coding. So the Braille enables them to speak the language English or whatever language that you speak. So you learn the code so you can speak language and and have proper grammar and punctuation. So anyway, it was pretty interesting. Just hearing about the story and how he overcame, even though he was visually impaired. But the one main thing that he harped on, that I took from it anyways, was talking about how society equates like if you're visually impaired or any kind of like illness that we would say, now the person is helpless. So he talks about, if you see a blind person, don't just, I don't white people, I guess you won't think if you do this. Like, you walk up to someone that's blind and say, do you know me? I can't see you. Like, what you talking about? Tell me your name and where I should know you from. Like, and then also he says, like, and how should I put this? It's not that I don't think sometimes people are trying to be rude or harmful. It's just that in your mind, you see someone that's blind, you see a deficiency, so you immediately want to go help. You know what I'm saying? Like, can I, you want him to hold onto your arm and walk them down the hallway. And he's like, no, don't do that. He says, when you see me, just treat me like a normal person. And then first thing, ask me if I want some help. Don't just assume and then take over. Like, no. Don't take away my independence. Ask me if I want some help. And then he's like, most of the times I might tell you no. But even if I do tell you yes, then ask me, in how can I help you? And then, so in that way, that person still has that dignity of, I'm grown, I'm a human being, like, I'm not a child. And you're not just taking over, you know what I mean, being helpful. Anyways, But then that got me thinking when it comes to just illness, or any kind of physical limitation, and even like in the black community, mental illness, and how sometimes we we see it as such a, well, oh man, it's done now. Forever the person gonna be a burden. We're always gonna have to take care of them. But what if it's that this person has to learn a different way of being? So now, okay, you can't drive a car, so now you have to be driven. But now you have vehicles that will drive for you. You know what I'm saying? It's just, I think when we look at people who have whatever limitation it is, whatever it is, it's now not to see the barrier as a stopping point, but I'm saying it's more of a, maybe a change in direction. So in terms of now, you stop here and you progress for the person, well, you can't do, and you can't do, and you're limited, and you're limited, and you can't do. But look at what they can do, and then also what are some ways, or in what way. And you never know, maybe that will spark a creative idea to come up with some organization or even technology or something that we don't have right now, you know what I mean, that will help. But it just got me thinking about, instead of seeing it as a stop, now my life is done, or I can't do, but more of, just like he said, just, and what he did is, okay, this is the barrier, but now let's have a more creative solution of what can I do, or how can I do, and it's not just I can't do or I can't be, you know what I mean. I was just thinking about that. Then while I was thinking about that, a book that I read came to mind. There was this book, Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning. And he in this book, he talked about when he was in a concentration camp, and he's a Holocaust survivor, and he was in Auschwitz. I hope I'm saying that word right. Auschwitz. Look it up, Viktor Frankl. You know you'll see that what I'm talking about. And he was a doctor. He was a Jew, and he went to that concentration camp. I think that was one of the worst ones. That was one of the camps that had the gas chamber, wherein if the Nazis thought that you weren't fit to work or whatever, they will just send you to the gas chamber and light you up, and they'll burn you alive or kill you. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, that was one of those ones. And he talks about, and he's pretty much journeying how he found meaning, even though he was in a concentration camp where everything was stripped from him. Like everything was stripped from him. Everything. He talked about like when he went and they had to strip butt naked and in front of all these people that you don't know, and they put you in the showers. And I mean, how embarrassing is that? You know what I mean? And then surviving on like a bowl of soup and a piece of bread. He's like, that's barely enough for you to sustain yourself. And just starving. They talk just starving. And just everything is gone. You know what I'm saying? And when I listen to this story, I'm like, I don't know. I couldn't imagine doing it. Everything is gone. There's no comfort. There's no nothing. There is nothing. The fact that he was a doctor, they didn't care. Nothing. And he talked about how, he saw people who went from the different stages, and then how they some people they died because they lost hope. They lost hope because when you're in there all that time and you're thinking, well, this war is gonna end soon, this is just temporary, like first you go through shock, this can't be my life, like this cannot go. And then year after year after year, month after month after month. And he said what made him, what was one of the things, the circumstance he couldn't change, so he had to just accept what it is. This is what it was. He was in this concentration camp, he was being worked to death, being starved to death, but the one thing that he had full control over was how he was going to, his behavior, not only his what he, how he interacted with his circumstance, how he in his mind, like how he is going to handle this. That was the only thing he had, the only thing he had control over. And he said, he had a manuscript for a book that he was writing, and he had that with him when he went into the camps and they took it away from him. And he said he found like just scraps of paper, and from memory he was writing his notes for his book, right? Because he wanted to just keep his brain intact and also attached his life and going through stuff to something purposeful, something deliberate, something that nobody could take from him. Nobody could take away his brilliance, his thoughts, his ideas. Nobody could take that away from him. You know what I mean? And so while he was there, the situation didn't change, the circumstance didn't change, but he found ways in which to find meaning, even just being there. Like I think there was an outbreak of some disease. I forgot what disease he said. And he volunteered to go work in the infirmary. And he said even when he got sick and he was like, just, you can't hold anything down, he's vomiting and diarrhea and all type of thing. And he said he would hold on to, he was writing. He was that's the one thing that he was like, I am not gonna die here. Because like, he had to publish his book and he was writing his little notes. He didn't give up because he found meaning. He found something to like hold on to. You know what I'm saying? Like, and he was nothing big. He was nothing big. And who knows if he ever was gonna publish that book. But he found something to always hold on to. He found something in that like dreary, place of death and destruction and decay, and he found something. And he also talked about like not losing himself, like who he was as a person at his core. He's like, they took everything away from him, but who he was, they couldn't take that. And finding like joy and laughter in the most desperate of situations. That book was very inspiring. So with everything, to put it all together, from listening to the sermon this morning and from that book that I read, life throws a lot of curveballs our way, man. Like, you never know what in the hell might happen. You never know. And sometimes there's no rhyme or reason to the shit. There's none. You don't know why this is happening. Did you kick somebody's dog? Nothing. Like, you did nothing. But this is it. Being a good person and doing everything right does not preclude us from suffering. Sure doesn't. Sure doesn't. However, the only thing that we have control over is how we meet the situation at hand, how we view it, what our attitude is, and what our mental, emotional state is. That's the only thing you can do. The circumstance may never change. Like this man that was in the concentration camp. This Mr. Davis that's blind. He can't do nothing about that. Nothing. Nothing he can do about it. There's no medicine, there's no treatment, there's no surgeries, there's nothing. He could have, well, I'm retired, I'm blind, I'm sitting home and I'm in my recliner and I'm watching TV. This man is still active in his community. He is inspiring others. He is ministering on Sundays. He is an advocate now for blind individuals. He is working with that community to bring awareness. Like he said it himself. He's like, I'm living my best life. Right? Find meaning, find purpose in whatever you're doing, in whatever situation, and don't focus on the whatever that thing is that obstacle. Focus on yourself and what can I learn, and in this situation right here, how am I gonna meet it? Because you can either meet it in a way that says it's hopeless, I'm done, there's nothing I can do, or you can say this is what it is. Now, how do I shift in order, whether it's an emotional shift, a mental shift, a creative shift, in order to be able to get something done but in a different way. But it all surrounds how we handle what it is that is in front of us. That is the outcome that you're gonna get. It all depends on you. So I think I've said all that I want to say on this, but I was just inspired by those two stories. I just wanted to make a video about it. So I hope this makes sense. I hope it does. If leave me a comment. I love comments. And share this video with friends and family. It is not hopeless. And the cure for hopelessness is meaning. Find meaning. Find meaning in whatever it is that you're doing. Whatever the situation is, find some light at the end of the tunnel. You might not be able to change the situation, but you can change how you deal with it. You can change that. It's all about you. You have the power. You have the power within you to go forward all the time, always. You may not be able to do it in a traditional sense. You might need to come up with some creative solutions. But you won't know until you shift. So anyways, rate, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell. I hope this makes sense, and I hope it gives you some inspiration or just something to think about. Leave me a comment, guys, and I'll see you next time. Peace.